Consider the 2003 Iraq invasion. The human cost is well documented. Hundreds of thousands dead, cities devastated, millions displaced. But behind the scenes, corporations and investors profited on a scale rarely discussed. Halliburton, Bechtel, and Blackwater secured massive contracts to rebuild, supply, and secure the country. Estimates suggest that Halliburton alone earned over $30 billion in Iraq and Afghanistan. Meanwhile, investment firms trading on defense and energy stocks reaped billions from market speculation. Ordinary citizens bore the cost billions in tax dollars. Countless lies, but some investors saw one of the greatest windfalls in modern history. What makes this more shocking is the predictability. Analysts had forecasted the military expenditures. Stock markets reacted instantly. For those with insight or access to privileged information, war became less about ideology and more about timing and opportunity. By the 2010s, a disturbing pattern had emerged. Conflicts, both hot wars and covert interventions, were increasingly leveraged for financial gain. Syria, Libya, Ukraine, each conflict followed a familiar script. Military spending skyrocketed, weapons orders surged, and private contracts expanded. It wasn't just governments paying for destruction. Hedge funds and investors bet on conflict outcomes, oil prices, reconstruction contracts, even company stocks tied to military operations. The line between finance and warfare blurred, creating what some analysts now call the billionaire war machine. The breaking point isn't a single war. It's the systemic realization that war itself can be engineered for profit. Political rhetoric, public opinion, and even international law become secondary considerations when billions are at stake. Of course, not everyone wins. For citizens in conflict zones, the fallout is catastrophic. Destroyed infrastructure, lost livelihoods, social unrest. But paradoxically, these conditions create new opportunities for the wealthy. Reconstruction contracts, private security, and resource extraction offer enormous profits precisely where suffering is highest. This cycle repeats. War destroys, then reconstructs under private hands, often under the guidance or investment of those who profited from the initial conflict. In this system, destruction is the prelude to profit, and the billionaires emerge as the ultimate beneficiaries. There have been attempts to curb war profiteering, international treaties, anti-corruption measures, and transparency laws aimed to prevent private enrichment from conflict. Yet enforcement is weak, loopholes abound, and the globalized nature of modern finance makes regulation extremely difficult. Even when scandals emerge, think Halliburton, Blackwater, or arms trading, exposes the fines and settlements are mere fractions of the profits. The system, in many ways, protects the wealthy while exposing ordinary citizens to the consequences. By now you might be asking, if this is happening historically, what does it look like today? How do modern billionaires leverage cyber warfare, AI, and global tensions for profit? And most importantly, what does it mean for the rest of us as conflicts continue to unfold around the world? We'll dive into the most shocking modern examples, reveal staggering data you won't hear in the news, and uncover the repeating patterns that suggest history isn't just repeating, it's escalating. By the end, you'll see why the battlefield isn't only in the desert or city streets, it's in portfolios, boardrooms, and the very systems designed to protect us. Stay with us, because the truth behind the billionaire war secrets may be more disturbing and more profitable than you ever imagined. Welcome back. In part 1, we traced the origins of war profiteering from Renaissance merchants to modern private military contractors, and explored how billionaires have consistently turned conflict into cash. Now, in part 2, we go deeper. We reveal today's shocking examples, the data that proves patterns are repeating, and why these systems continue to protect the rich while leaving the rest of the world exposed. Today, wars aren't just fought with guns or tanks. They're fought with algorithms, drones, and cyber tools. And guess who profits? Billionaires controlling technology, surveillance, and intelligence platforms. Consider cybersecurity firms and AI contractors. Governments pay billions for advanced cyber defense systems, predictive algorithms, and autonomous weaponry. A single government contract can be worth hundreds of millions, sometimes billions, directly flowing into private accounts. But the profit cycle doesn't stop there. Geopolitical tension, even if it never escalates into full-blown war, is enough to drive stock prices of defense-related tech. Hedge funds and investors use predictive algorithms to bet on potential conflict zones. In essence, fear itself has become a commodity and billionaires are selling it. Let's look at some numbers. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute (SIPRI), global military spending reached over $2.20 trillion in 2023. A staggering portion of that, more than 20%, flows to a handful of corporations controlled by the OTAN. During the Ukraine conflict, for example, defense contractors in the US and Europe saw stock surges averaging 15 to 25% within months of escalation. Executives with significant equity holdings saw their net worth jump by billions. Meanwhile, the ordinary citizens in the conflict zones faced infrastructure collapse, skyrocketing food prices, and displaced communities. The contrast is stark: profit for the few, suffering for the many. Even more alarming, analysts have noted that this cycle is self-reinforcing. The anticipation of conflict drives investments into military tech, which in turn incentivizes lobbying for increased defense budgets and international interventions. War becomes not just inevitable, it becomes financially logical for some. When we examine centuries of data, the patterns are undeniable. Let's break them down. 1. Preparation. Billionaires invest in defense, tech, and security companies. 2. Conflict ignition. Political tensions or localized conflicts emerge. 3. Profit spike. Stocks, contracts, and private security profits soar. 4. Reconstruction and control. Post-conflict rebuilding creates another revenue stream. 5. Cycle repeats. The next crisis becomes another opportunity. From Iraq to Afghanistan, Libya to Ukraine, and even covert cyber campaigns, this same sequence plays out repeatedly. History is not only repeating, it is accelerating. Technology and global finance amplify the rewards for those who understand the system. So, who are these winners? Beyond CEOs of defense contractors, there's a shadow network of private equity, venture capital, and billionaire investors. Many of them hold stakes in multiple sectors: tech, energy, logistics, even media. They aren't merely selling weapons. They are selling influence, information, and outcomes. This network isn't conspiratorial, it's systemic. Lobbying, political donations, and international alliances ensure that the cycle of conflict continues to favor those at the top. Meanwhile, traditional oversight fails because the scale, speed, and opacity of modern finance make enforcement nearly impossible. In other words, war is no longer just fought on the battlefield, it is fought in boardrooms, stock markets, and behind closed-door contracts. And the billionaires, often invisible to the public, are winning every single round. From this exploration, 3 key takeaways emerge. 1. Conflict is profitable. Wars are rarely purely ideological. Financial incentives play a massive role in shaping modern conflicts. Billionaires and corporations benefit disproportionately from destruction, reconstruction, and geopolitical tension. 2. Modern warfare is multidimensional. It's no longer just tanks and soldiers. Cybersecurity, AI, logistics, and predictive technologies have turned war into a financial ecosystem, one that rewards those controlling the systems rather than the 3. Patterns repeat across history. From the 17th century to today, the cycle of preparation, conflict, profit, and reconstruction remains consistent. The scale has grown, the tools have changed, but the winners are often the same: the ultra-wealthy who leverage the chaos. The implications are chilling. If history and current trends are any guide, we are entering an era where conflicts can be manufactured, prolonged, or exploited for profit. Geopolitical crises, cyber warfare, and even climate-related conflicts may increasingly be leveraged for financial gain. And the rest of us, the public, the soldiers, the displaced civilians, continue to bear the cost. The warning is clear. Understanding the financial motives behind conflict is not just academic. It's essential for citizens, policymakers, and anyone concerned about global stability. Because as long as profit remains tied to war, the system itself incentivizes chaos. So, the next time you hear a speech about freedom, security, or democracy, ask yourself, who stands to gain financially? Who really wins while the world suffers? The battlefield isn't only in foreign lands. It's in markets, contracts, and portfolios invisible to most of us. History shows that without awareness and accountability, the cycle will continue. And as technology accelerates the speed and scale of modern warfare, the stakes, financial, political, and human, have never been higher. If this story opened your eyes to a hidden layer of the modern world, share it. Talk about it. The more people understand the systems that drive conflict, the better chance we have of demanding transparency and change. And if you want to dive deeper into the untold history of war, wealth, and power, hit subscribe, because the truth doesn't make itself known, and it's only getting more important.